Hi, I'm Dr. Jennifer Hawks. Welcome back to the Self Love series. Today, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of those deeper rooted triggers, some of the ones that are much harder to identify that is even a trigger for us. Um, there are many triggers, and some are more complicated to identify. So, when we look at some of those deeply rooted triggers, it's more about our personal identity at that point. And when we believe something about the world or about ourselves for so long, it can be hard to see outside of that. A lot of our conditioning does stem from, relationships that we built when we were younger surrounding love and acceptance. And then we carry that into our adult life when we actually do start dating and creating intimate relationships. We carry a lot of those deeply rooted wounds and are triggered by them later in life. And I call them wounds, but oftentimes most of us do not feel like that's a wound. And that's why it's harder to identify those triggers. Sometimes we'll do things that it's just how we are, right? It's related to our personal identity, the type of love we give, or the type of relationships that we always see ourselves in, right? So when you're seeing that pattern of the same type of relationship, everyone says, "Oh, what's your type?" I'm so sick of that question because do I want the same thing I've been getting thus far? No. So if you are also someone that um, you're like, why do I always end up in the same type of relationships? That's a huge trigger, right? Because then you need to actually take a look at what love do I think I deserve? Why am I attracting these types of people? And what about me makes me attracted to them? So that is one of the biggest things with our conditioning is stemming around love or intimate relationships. So, based on how we have learned to love ourselves, we may actually seek emotional fulfillment from others without even realizing it. Even as simple as desiring love or acceptance from someone that has shown you nothing but a meek interest in you. A lot of times when we want love, we'll project that onto other people. And then all of a sudden, we feel this intense connection, right? That's still from within you. So, yes, there are times where you feel that soul connection with somebody, and that's beautiful. But a lot of times, what ends up happening is people will project their desire for love and almost, deify this person and hold them on this pedestal. And they know that that's someone they're going to give all their love to, and they want that person to love them back. And we project that on them, even if they have not shown interest. So, one of the things I will always tell people is trust the energy someone gives you. So, it's hard to do because you're feeling so much. Trust the energy that someone else gives you. When everything in your head is telling you that's a red flag, that's a red flag, that's a red flag, listen to yourself. Because those are usually those relationships that you're wearing rose colored glasses, and later on you're going to look back and you're like, why did I do that again? so so this section is a lot about the deeper rooted stuff. So, when we look at how we actually connect with people and the types of relationships that we have with others, we can then actually identify a little bit more about ourselves and how to really promote that self worth from within. Um, so, let's say your parents really made you feel like you had to earn their love. Basically, if you've always had to work for it, then it can be an extended projection of the love you sought from your parents. So if you felt like you always had to extend that additional olive branch. You always had to try to please somebody to deserve their love or to feel loved by another. You had to do all the work. So that's overgiving. And in a true match relationship, there will be an equal give and take, right? So when you grew up in a setting where you had to work, or you felt like you had to work very hard to get the love from someone that so inherently you desired that love from, you're going to carry that into your future. So when we look at that and we're seeing relationships where people are running themselves ragged, trying to make it work, trying to, really, they want so badly for that other person to just love and respect them. Why don't they love and respect me? Do you love and respect yourself? Because if you really loved and respected yourself, you probably wouldn't be in that situation in the first place. We attract the vibrational resonance and essence that we're at. So if I'm vibrating on this level here and I'm going right along and I meet someone that's vibrating down here, well, if I want their love, either they have to meet me here or I have to meet them there. And that can be incredibly damaging if we both don't do the work to match each other, to have that equal give and take. Then constantly someone is lowering themselves to the other person's level, so to speak. And I'm not talking anything about where you're at in life. That has nothing to do with it. It's not about money. It's not about this person's out of your league. It's not about that. It's about their essence. It's about their vibrational essence. Are they vibing high? Are they someone that, feels good about themselves, that is a go-getter, that feels fulfilled? That's wonderful. And that's where we want to be, right? We want to be high vibing. Or are they someone that kind of like, every once in a while you match, but then they spiral downwards, and then you match again and they spiral downwards? That person actually needs to take time for themselves to heal. And if you both work on things and you both take time apart to heal, then yeah, maybe you can come back together. But if you're seeking that and you're just putting all of your heart and soul into desiring someone else to love you back, then you're really not truly appreciating yourself and what you have to offer. Because what about you makes you think that you have to overgive to somebody to receive love? Think about that for a second. So if you feel less than, or if you feel like, well, I've always had to put out a lot to be loved, lots of people love you. Lots of people love you. Let me just say that. Um, but do you love yourself enough to know your worth? So that's a lot of these deeper deeper issues. So going back to the aspect of, if you felt like you always sought love from your parents and you never quite got what you wanted or needed, right? If you wanted their love, respect, and acknowledgement, and then you never quite felt like you got it until later in life, or you never quite felt like you had that unconditional love from somebody, then that can go different ways. But a lot of times that person is then going to overgive in their relationships because they're seeking that. They're seeking that emotional fulfillment that, yep, I won the blue ribbon. Yep, I got the trophy because that person now cares about me. I did something right. You are right in your own. If you focus on your higher self, if you focus on your high vibing, high vibration, then you don't necessarily need to seek love from someone that's not willing to give equally. And that can be hard when you're younger. Trying to please a parent, that can be hard especially for a lot of my patients that felt like they had to do a lot to receive love in youth. This also goes the opposite way, where if someone kind of was smothered or always got the love, or they were the golden boy or whatever you want to call it, it's going to be really hard for that person later in life to accept an equal give and take because they had a parent that overgave. And so it's this vicious cycle that if we don't heal ourselves from within, if we don't raise our vibration, know that we're worthy and know that I'm going to give love to this person's going to give love to me. And it's okay if you give love to somebody and they don't love you back. That's okay. If they're not in a place where they want that type of love, or if they're working on themselves, good for them. Try not to project that onto somebody because that's borderline manipulative behavior. And it's subconscious. I hate that word, manipulation, but it's real. And even when we think that this is inherently something that we deserve, we should be loved by certain people. But if you project that onto somebody and then they don't return it, a lot of people will call this unrequited love. If that person doesn't return that love to you, what are you going to do? Trust the energy someone gives you. If they don't want to be a part of this, if they don't want an equal give and take, then that's okay. You go do you. They can go do them. And hopefully, if it is meant to be, meant to be, if it is meant to be, you guys will both heal. And if you're on the same vibration, you can come back together. If you're not, then if you came back together, it just wouldn't work again. You have to both take the time to heal. And oftentimes we're matched with people that are on our vibration and we don't even realize that we both have things to heal, right? So if you find someone that constantly complains about their partner and what their partner should be doing or needs to do. So first and foremost, is that person actually responsible for your happiness? No. If you're truly that unhappy in any relationship, friend, family member, lover, whatever, then you should leave that situation. And that's part of that self-worth. If you see something that's not good for you and you continue to do it, then you will continue to attract that type of relationship. You'll often hear people say, "Oh my gosh, I was in a really bad relationship for a really long time." Well, for one, it definitely wasn't all bad. For two, they probably were at the same vibration several times. And three, they allowed themselves to be in that situation. So if we are not at the same level and we truly don't like something about someone else, or we don't like the way they present themselves to the world, then we need to step out of that. That's on us to separate ourselves from that situation. Well, at the same time, now granted, I'm not talking about abusive relationships. Yes, please seek help, get support, and get out of that. But if it is a situation where, you guys both really love each other and you keep trying to make it work and it's not an abusive situation, then you really have to take that opportunity for yourself to understand your personal emotional fulfillment. Do you feel emotionally fulfilled? What about your past relationships makes you keep seeking the same types of relationships that made you feel like the other person was always putting you down, or made you feel like you had to work really hard? So some of these deeper rooted triggers that have to do with relationships, while they may stem from a relationship we had in our youth with a caregiver, we still have to make that choice for self-worth. Make the choice for yourself. Identify when something isn't working. Trust the energy that someone gives you. And then go within and ask yourself, why did I accept that? Am I going to know my worth now? Or am I going to keep being presented with the same toxic situations because I haven't learned my lesson? Just a few examples there, lots more to come. Take a look at that for yourself. Look at the types of relationships you tend to have and how you can raise your vibration and change that cycle.